Some of the most painful breakups of your life won't be romantic. They'll be friendships. And we aren't talking about it. So let's talk about friendship breakups. If you are new here, I am Angie, the Inner Glow Coach, and I help women stop chasing love and approval and start radiating it from within. And this playlist, Radiate Don't Accommodate, was inspired by my last playlist, Into the Audition, Dating from Inner Glow, because we talked about how a people pleaser mindset goes on dates and asks, do they like me? But someone with inner glow asks themselves, do I even like them? Because when you love and respect yourself, your standards are non-negotiable. And your number one standard in life is protecting your own emotional and physical safety. And a huge part of this is deciding what you do or do not allow into your life, and of what you do allow, how much do you allow or engage in it? Because some friendships may not require a complete breakup, some simply just need space. For many years, I struggled with chronic anxiety and depression. And yes, I played a huge role in that because I had low self-worth and I engaged in people-pleasing and perfectionist behaviors because I was always chasing love and approval and things outside of myself. I always needed external validation for self-worth. But part of this low self-worth was that I had surrounded myself with unloving and unsupportive friends because I truly did not believe that I deserved better treatment. Mostly because my parents were unloving and unsupportive. And if you did watch the In the Audition Dating from Inner Glow playlist, we talked about how until you heal your childhood trauma, you will always seek the love that you didn't get from your parents in your romantic partners. And it is not your partner's responsibility to give you the love that your parents did not. So that's why it's so important to heal your trauma, because then you're just going to end up creating a toxic relationship. And this can play out similarly in platonic relationships. So my point is, I tolerated that kind of treatment from anybody because it was familiar to me. And more important, it was familiar to my nervous system. Because if you've seen my other videos, your nervous system never forgets. And I truly had that belief that that's what I deserved. But after my emotional rock bottom, I started my healing journey in earnest, and I had to take a hard, honest look about how I was playing a role in the dysfunction in my life. And a huge part of that was realizing that I had surrounded myself with friends who were similar to my parents. But over time, I held a higher standard for my environment, and I did have to break up with some friends along the way. But that made room for friends who were a better fit for me. And through this, I realized that a huge part of my anxiety and depression was that I had so many friends who were critical of me and treating me in unloving ways. And in turn, I believed that, and that's what contributed to chipping away at my self-worth. And even though the quality of my life has dramatically improved, some of the friendship breakups were very difficult and hurt equally as much as a romantic breakup. And I don't think this is talked about enough in society. So when it happens to you, it feels like a totally abnormal and weird experience, and you start questioning yourself on everything. So if this is you, that's okay, and how you're feeling is normal. So my primary goal with this series is simply to normalize conversations around friendship breakups, because it's okay to not have friends forever. It's okay to outgrow people. It's not okay to stay in toxic dynamics, even if it's someone you've known since kindergarten, because toxic dynamics, whether they're romantic or platonic, is how you dim your light. And I'm not saying I have all of the answers about friendship breakups, because I don't. But this playlist is going to be very personal story heavy, as you'll see in the next 3 videos, because I do have experience with friendship breakups, and so I've learned through trial and error. And so over the next few videos, I'll be sharing personal stories that will hopefully help you build your own self-trust and protect your peace, but at the very least, they'll let you know that you're not alone. And the last thing I'll share is the one thing I've learned for sure: never underestimate the importance of surrounding yourself with loving and supportive people. And I know from experience that it can be painful losing a friend, so it's very important that when this happens to you, you allow yourself to grieve and give yourself the space to feel how you feel. We tend to want to run away from unpleasant feelings, but feeling safe in your body while feeling your feelings is one of the most valuable skills you can have as a functional adult. And like my other playlist, all of the videos, including this one, will have an action step at the end. This is something simple, although it may not be easy, that you can implement in your day-to-day life to create healthier behaviors and habits. Because we develop certain behaviors as children and teenagers because it's a survival response to help us survive environments with our primary caregivers. So for example, my parents were not very supportive and not always loving as a child and teenager, and that would hurt my feelings, but what am I supposed to do? Move out? And as a teenager, I remember sometimes I would express my feelings about it, but my feelings were also often dismissed. But again, what am I going to do about it? Because until we're 18, we're dependent on our parents to take care of us. So I had no other choice. So it was easier to develop the belief that I wasn't important and didn't deserve to be loved. However, as a fully functional adult, that belief did not serve me. So the corresponding habits and behaviors that came from that belief actually ended up causing me a lot of pain. So for example, having friends and believing that that was okay and normal. So the entire goal of the action steps is to implement new habits and behaviors that respond to the belief, that correspond to the belief and respond to the belief. My emotional safety is my number one priority. I deserve to be surrounded by loving and supportive people. So, before we head over to the first video, the action step for today is to simply start noticing how you feel in your body around the people you spend time with. This is the easiest way to tell if someone is healthy or unhealthy for you. If you feel good after spending time with them, they are an energy giver and can reciprocate good energy. If you feel bad or off after spending time with them, even if you can't put your finger on why, they probably aren't someone you should be spending a lot of time with. And just to be clear, I'm not talking about one isolated incident. I'm talking about patterns. So you can have a friend who's generally healthy for you, but maybe they're having a bad day and unloading on you, and that's not necessarily a red flag. But if it is a pattern, especially if they don't reciprocate being the listener for you on your bad days, then that's something to pay attention to. And so you don't have to overanalyze actions because you will feel it in your body. You just have to pay attention. But if you want to dig into this deeper, because I usually work with high achievers who love a little bonus and extra credit here and there. So for extra credit, if you have friends that leave you feeling energized, ask yourself why. Is it because they support your goals? Is it because you feel safe being yourself? Is it because you trust them to be a safe space when you tell them something vulnerable? And for extra credit, if you have someone in your life who is like this, thank them, because this is rare, and thank them specifically for whatever reason you came up with. So, hey so-and-so, thank you so much for being an amazing friend because you create this safe space for me to be me, and I feel so safe being myself when I'm around you. And so back to the regular extra credit. If you have a friend that leaves you feeling drained, ask yourself why. And this one is not always as obvious because, and I'll use my limiting belief for an example. When I had the limiting belief that I didn't deserve to be loved, that was so coherent in my brain as my belief that it was a truth that it wouldn't immediately be obvious that someone was treating me a way I didn't deserve to be treated, because that was my belief that I deserved to be treated that way. But there was another part of me that felt icky and gross about it, which is, I won't get into this, but there's like the ego and higher self. But that was like the true me, knowing that I really didn't deserve to be treated that way. So that's why your body never lies, because that's the true you. So this one may not always be as obvious because you may not be aware of that limiting belief, but this is a good way to really start digging into the whys to uncover what that belief is. And also, this is the basis of the G in my GLOW method, which is go back to your childhood. And I do have other videos on that. But that is your action item. How do you feel in your body when you are around them? And if the actions in this playlist or any of my other playlists make you uncomfortable, then good, because growth usually feels uncomfortable. So that means you're growing. Welcome to Radiate Don't Accommodate, and I will see you in the next video.